Hello, everybody. Brenna here.
And I'm Gabby.
And this is the Mystery of Everything podcast.
Woo! Just put some chairs in here so it sounds like we have a live studio audience.
All right. So today's topic is a topic that is going very viral right now, and it's a little spooky.
It is. But I also feel like there's like so much misinformation surrounding it. What the FBI or something got involved, so it got a lot of traction, and then people just started running with it because people will run with anything.
They will. And there is a lot of misinformation about it, which we will this is definitely going to be a multiple part episode.
So many parts.
So many parts. Today we're going to go over a timeline and we'll cover a few of the scientists. Some scientists are going to have their own episodes because their stories are a lot.
And some aren't even scientists.
And some aren't even scientists. Again, with the misinformation, the news thing says, 11 scientists. Some aren't scientists. They're, I don't want to say scientist adjacent.
They work at places that deal with science.
Yeah, they were around. So let's say like the government contractor, janitor, things of that nature that had access to these places, but not necessarily scientists' title.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, there have been 11 scientists that have gone missing or died mysteriously in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, well, I think the first one was, I want to say, in 2022.
Yeah.
So,
and that one, we're not going to cover her first. You'd think we do it chronologically, but her story is weird.
She's got a lot to unpack. So,
and we need time to unpack it properly and do it justice versus just adding to the constant swirl of information and misinformation and speculation.
So we're going to start with a timeline of events for the, and you might hear me say like for the scientists, but you know what I mean, because I'm not going to say for the scientists and others every time I mention it. But we're going to start with Amy Eskridge, June 11th, 2022. Amy Eskridge dies by suicide in Huntsville, Alabama. She was a plasma physicist studying anti-gravity technology and had worked for NASA. Next on our list is Michael David Hicks, July 30th, 2023. Michael David Hicks' cause of death was not officially released to the public. He was a researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He worked on major space projects, including NASA's DART program, which was testing to see if it was possible to deflect an asteroid. He also worked on the Deep Space One mission. So next on the list is Frank Maywald, and he passed away on July 4th, 2024. Frank Maywald's cause of death is, again, not publicly known like Michael David Hicks before. He was a researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory also. He specialized in space research and served as a principal investigator managing high-profile Earth observation and space instrumentation efforts, and he earned several NASA honors for his work. We are going to discuss Frank in today's episode more in depth, and we will also discuss Michael as well in this episode. But Frank had a very kind face.
I saw you write that in there.
He did. Like, I don't know. I know absolutely nothing about Frank personally other than what I have researched and read about him on the interweb. But sometimes when you look at people and you're like, "Oh, their smile looked genuine." His did. That sounds cheesy. Like when you see those episodes of Forensic Files and they're like, "She had a smile that could light up a room." If you're a true crime person like I am and you watch Forensic Files and stuff, everybody, no matter who they are, had a smile that could light up a room.
I do not have one.
Well, then you're probably
if
safe.
I ever go missing and y'all say that nonsense about me, I will come back.
Okay, so next on our list after Frank is Anthony Chavez, and he was reported missing. So everyone we've talked about previously has passed away. The next couple people that we're going to discuss on the timeline have all been reported missing, and they were all reported missing in 2025. So it is a little spooky. I will say some things when we discuss it could be coincidence, or maybe they are, I don't know, but other things make you think, like, that timeline is kind of
Suspicious.
it's a little sus. So Anthony Chavez was reported missing May 8th, 2025. He was a former employee at Los Alamos National Laboratory. He was last seen leaving his home on foot before his disappearance, and multiple search efforts have been concluded, but he remains missing. Another thing that you're going to see in these cases is people going missing on foot, like just walking out of their houses. And that's weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like leaving phone, keys, and that kind of thing in your house, not taking your car, just you on foot leaving the house.
My thing though is a lot of scientists are burnt out. Maybe they were just done.
That is true. Just
They were like, "Screw this.
and
Bye."
there are a lot of theories, which we're not going to dive into the theories in this episode, but a lot of people think that they're Area 51 or I see the 2 ladies with the Ouija board, and again, we'll go more into this later. Have you seen the 2 white ladies with the Ouija board on TikTok?
No.
I mentioned them out loud the other day, and now they're on my algorithm, which it's always listening. But they popped up on there, and someone asked them to ask about the missing scientists, and they said that they will reappear in 2027, is what the spirits said. Well, eventually we will dive into, like, all of the theories. Not today, but yeah. So, if they do pop up in 2027, that'll be crazy. And they were just working on, like, some kinda secret mission, or they were abducted by aliens. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, next on our list is Monica Reza, and she is reported missing June 22nd, 2025. So, again, we have Anthony going missing May 8th, and Monica is missing June 22nd. Monica Reza is reported missing. She also works at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So, if you haven't picked up on it yet, there's a bit of a pattern here with working at the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. She was an aerospace engineer who worked on burn resistance and high strength metal alloys. She had connections to Wright Patterson Air Force Base, which will come into this, that will tie into another scientist later on. She was last seen while hiking. Her case is weird. She was last seen hiking with a companion, and police say she was about 30 feet from this companion, smiled and waved at them, and then when the person turned back around, she was gone.
Weird.
Yeah. Hers is weird. Um, Hers is gonna require more research into for sure. I just think that's so weird. Like, I can't imagine hiking with someone, they smile and wave at me, I go to say something again, turn around, and then they're gone.
Yeah. I'd be spooked.
Yeah, I'd be spooked. That kinda makes me lean towards alien abduction. So Monica was June 22nd, 2025. Next up is Melissa Cassius, June 26th, 2025. So right after Monica. She was an administrative assistant at Los Alamos National Laboratory. So she was not a scientist either. She was an administrative assistant. She was working from home on June 26th because she had forgotten her work badge. Which whenever I read that, that kind of threw me off too. Well, I guess maybe she drove to work, forgot the badge, drove home, didn't want to drive
We'll get
back
into
again.
that
Okay.
because it's
Melissa has an episode on her own.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because I haven't read what Gab has put together on Melissa's case, so
It's strange,
yeah, I
but
will be learning it all with you all as we go, and I'm excited for it.
hers makes sense when you look at it properly. You'll see.
Okay. So, she was working from home that day. Online says she took her daughter to lunch. It said that she disappeared from her home, but was last seen walking alongside a highway without her phone, wallet, or keys. Again, that's all I know. Gab knows more. That might there's a lot of misinformation online too, so I don't know if what I just said is accurate, but I guess we'll find out.
It's close.
Okay. Alright, and after Melissa, we have Steven Garcia. Steven Garcia is reported missing on August 28th, 2025. He also was not a scientist. He was a government contractor working as a property custodian at Kansas City National Security Campus, which manufactures non-nuclear components for nuclear weapons. He disappeared after leaving his home in Albuquerque on foot, and his is unique also because he had possession of a handgun when he disappeared. Which would imply, I don't know, Steven personally, I don't know if that's something like maybe he was a guy who carried all the time and just, because some
Yeah,
people do that. I have no idea. But if he didn't carry all the time, leaving your home with a handgun would imply that you felt like you needed protection of some sort. So
weird.
that's interesting. And next up we have another death. Jason Thomas. Jason Thomas had disappeared on December 12th, 2025. He was reported missing after not returning home that day, but his body was recovered from a Massachusetts lake on March 17th, 2026, and he was a Novartis researcher.
Okay, so at least they found him?
Yeah, he went missing, but his body was recovered from the lake on March 17th of this year. So next on our list is Nuno Luero. So Nuno Luero was shot to death at his home on December 16th, 2025. So this is only a few days after Jason Thomas went missing.
Do they know who shot him?
Yes. Yeah, they do. I haven't did a deep dive into Nuno yet, but he was a plasma physicist and MIT professor, and the shooting has been considered an attribute to his rivalry with another scientist.
Okay, that one makes sense then.
Are scientist rivalries that hardcore?
For funding, people compete for funding all the time, so it gets pretty cutthroat.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. That's why there was this whole scandal where they were falsifying a bunch of reports because, it's rough out there.
That's wild.
That's why Joy was like, "I wanna be a scientist," and I was like, "No, you don't.
No.
Find a different passion."
Mm. Whenever you're younger, though, scientist sounds cool, so cool, and it also sounds really unattainable. I don't know.
Amy Eskridge was pretty she was like, like the TV scientists where they know everything, like, they're not just like a geneticist or molecular biologist, they're
Yeah.
like or a physicist, like, they just know everything.
They just
She
have the
seemed
gift.
to know everything,
Yeah.
which is really extra sad about her case because she just seemed like she wasn't just like, like a very niche. Because I always say about scientists are either they're really, really good at one thing that they do super, super well, but she
Yeah.
seemed to be really good at everything. So
Yeah. Some people just have the gift. I do not have the gift. Next up on our list is Carl Grillmere, and he was shot to death on his front porch February 16th, 2026. So we're moving into the next year now. Now, Nuno was shot to death December 16th. Carl is shot to death February 16th. He was an astrophysicist at Caltech who also collaborated with NASA. He was known for his work researching for water around exoplanets. See, stuff like that. Just, I don't know. I just think that is so cool. There has been a man arrested for the death of Carl. However, there is no clear motive or known relation tying the men to each other.
weird.
Yeah.
Like, he could have been paid off
To just keep his mouth
do it?
shut. Yeah, it was probably someone who was hired, but,
That's so strange.
but why? I guess we'll dive into that and see what we can figure out. Gabby and Brenna on the case. We're gonna be hitting the road.
I'm good.
Gonna be taking interviews. No, because then it'll be Gabby and Brenna are the next missing
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm
scientists.
like, I don't wanna be on this list.
No, and I'm barely a scientist. So
Barely. I
literally.
forgot science, I'm sure. I don't remember.
No, it was 4 years
Biology?
of playing with pee.
Yeah.
Like, who even counts that?
And, like, before that, playing with salamanders. It's never that serious.
You're a published scientist, though, so.
On salamanders. I'm not saying it wasn't cool. I'm not saying eDNA isn't amazing. I'm just saying it was salamanders. Like, you don't come
Like,
after
come
me.
on, don't pick me, guys.
None of this is important to life.
We're just researching for fun.
Yeah. Memes. I got published by accident.
Okay. So, last on our list that I have concluded on our timeline so far, because it's been months since this has happened, so there might be more. We don't know. William Neal McCasland. He was reported missing February 27th, 2026. He was a retired Air Force general. During his time in the Air Force, he oversaw classified space weapons programs and was head of research at a faculty rumored to house extraterrestrial debris from Roswell,
New Mexico?
New Mexico.
Huh. That's this is probably the wildest one.
Yeah. He might
But
get an episode by himself too.
extraterrestrial debris could just be anything from space, though.
That is true,
Like a
but it
rock.
makes it sound cool. That's how they get you.
Yeah. But it could be like a rock
Yeah,
or space
they have
trash.
one space rock, and now everyone's like, "Aliens."
It's extraterrestrial. How are they all connected?
Oh, and I also wanna add in real fast, William, was last seen leaving his home
In New Mexico.
in New Mexico.
Yup.
So, possible connections, and we might come out with more possible connections while we continue to research, because this is a whopper
We're like
of a
20 something pages in, and we've done 3.5 of the scientists. So,
yeah, like, it's a lot of information, and a lot of this information that you do find, then you find out later that it's inaccurate,
and it's
'cause
so speculation because Reddit is wild.
the
And then
Reddit
there's bigger
mm.
podcasts that are just like fanning the flames of just random fires. And I'm like, why are we doing that? People are
Fear-mongering.
missing.
People like fear-mongering. And, like, I love extraterrestrials and as much as the next guy, and I do think these cases are interesting, but also don't think that we should, state things as facts when we don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But possible connections, again, we'll probably come out with more possible connections later. So, NASA could be possible connection. Some of these people have connections to NASA. Amy Eskridge, Michael David Hicks, Frank Maywald, Monica Reza, Carl Grillmayer all have worked or have some connection to NASA. That is not to say that they have all worked in the same building, because that is another false thing that a lot of reports say is, oh, they all worked at the exact same location. They did not. So NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Michael David Hicks, Frank Maywald, and Monica Reza all worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Los Alamos National Laboratory, Anthony Chavez and Melissa Cassius have both worked at Los Alamos. So, another thing that ties not all of them, but a group of them together is the Pasadena area scientists. An article was posted by Pasadena Now titled Four Pasadena Area Scientists' Deaths or Disappearance Among Those Under Federal Review, officials say. That's the title of the article. So it discusses how, as of April 22nd, 2026, the FBI, White House, and House Oversight Committee are all examining cases tied to JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and Caltech. The Pasadena area cases involve Michael David Hicks, Frank Maywald, and Monica Reza, who all worked as researchers while at JPL, and Carl Grimmer, who worked at Caltech as an astrophysicist. It should be noted that JPL is managed by Caltech for NASA. All right, so now we're going to dive into the actual scientists themselves, and we're going to start with Frank Maywald. So, Frank was born on June 24th, 1964, in Rittingen, Germany. He's the one that I said has a kind smile.
He does.
He does. And that picture of him with his coworkers, if you scroll down a little bit, like, they just look happy to be there. In the video, I'll post it, but they look happy to be learning and like they were passionate about what they were doing, and they look like they enjoyed their jobs,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's a lot for me to guess from a photo, but
Well, he did a cool job, so I
yeah.
can't imagine he wasn't slightly passionate about it.
Like, they're standing in front of some kind of space. What is that?
Extraterrestrial. I'm
extraterrestrial.
joking. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is. Looks like some kind of spacecraft, something. They're standing in front of something cool that has ribbon around it that's like warning, do not touch. They look like they were enjoying their jobs. So Frank pursued higher education at the University of Cologne. This is where the foundation for his career in space and science research began, according to his obituary on legacy.com, which is where I'm getting the current information that I'm reading. He spent many years of his life at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He managed the development of the SBG VSWIR instrument and had previously overseen the successful delivery of two instruments for the AMR C program. His roles included serving as a technical group supervisor and contributing to various significant projects such as AMR slash SWOT, COWVR, AMR slash Jason 3, and Hi Fi. He has numerous publications and accolades, which include several prestigious JPL and NASA awards. Frank passed away on July 4th, 2024, in Los Angeles at the age of 61 years old. And if you remember, Frank was the third one on our timeline. Now, in Frank's case, we have absolutely no idea what his cause of death is. Not even an inkling. It could have been natural causes. It could have been a fireworks related accident on the 4th of July. We have no idea. Because we have no idea how he passed away, that kind of doesn't give us much to work with as for
How did he end up on the list if it could have been natural causes?
it could have been anything. We don't know. There are a couple people on the list that they did not disclose their the way that they died, their cause of death.
Interesting. So how did they even get on people's radar? Like, who's keeping tabs of all of these scientists?
I have no idea.
I have
So
to figure that out.
we don't know. It gives us very little to go on. What we can do is just discuss what he did for his work. I previously mentioned that Frake managed the development of SBG VSWIR instrument. So what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
Gabby's gonna tell us. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
So SBG stands for Surface Biology and Geology. Easy
Okay.
enough. VSWIR stands for Visible to Shortwave Infrared Imaging.
See, that was gonna be my guess.
Like Gab, I had no idea what the instrument was before researching either, as I'm sure the majority of you all don't. The SGB VSWIR is a high resolution, hyperspectral imaging spectrometer, which was designed specifically for NASA's Surface Biology and Geology mission to measure the solar reflectance from 380 to 2,500 nanometers. Nanometers is a way to measure the wavelength within the solar spectrum, defining the specific narrow bands of light, which can range from ultraviolet to near infrared. They are measured to calculate how effectively a material reflects total solar energy. If I'm being completely honest, I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around that. I did ask Google to explain it to me as if I were a child. So basically, it's like a camera that looks at the Earth from space and studies sunlight reflection bouncing off of trees, grass, etc. These different materials reflect things in different ways, almost like a color fingerprint, to which the instrument can spot those supposed fingerprints using visible light and invisible infrared light and use it to investigate ground and water temperature, snow reflectivity, active geological processes, vegetation traits, and algal biomass. And that last bit was directly from the GPL NASA website.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very, again, I know I've said this a million times, but it's so cool that we have technology that's able to do that from space. It's also a little spooky.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I always wondered how they got those reading.
Very cool to think about. So I also looked into the other projects that we previously mentioned, the AMR SWOT, the COWVR, and the AMR slash Jason 3 and Hi Fi. These are all advanced Earth observing technology efforts, which are all designed primarily by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, along with a couple other partners. They are used to examine and measure ocean winds, water levels, and atmospheric moisture. COWVR stands for Compact Ocean Wind Vector Radiometer.
I've heard of that one because 'cause I've used data from different when, I did GIS for my master's program. That one I heard of.
That is cool. I hadn't heard of any of these. It is currently located on the International Space Station. AMRSWOT stands for Advanced Microwave Radiometer Surface Water and Ocean Topography.
Hmm,
The AMR is the instrument, and it is on the SWOT satellite to measure brightness, temperatures, and look at the amount of water vapor and liquid vapor in the atmosphere.
that is so cool.
Mm. Before researching, I didn't even know that these things existed. If I'm being honest, I did not know that they were out there. And as for the hi-fi, I believe this was in reference to the Herschel heterodyne instrument for the far infrared. And I'm going to read an exact snippet from the article titled Herschel, the First Space Highlights from the Astronomy and Astrophysics website. So the introduction reads Hi Fi, the heterodyne instrument for the far infrared, is one of the three instruments on board the Herschel Space Observatory. Herschel was launched in May 2009, and because it is an observatory type mission where Hi Fi provides its high spectral resolution capability, the Hi Fi needs to be versatile enough to be able to address many key themes in modern astrophysics. The instrument is therefore designed to provide very high spectral resolution over the widest possible frequency range. With the limited collecting area of 3.5 M telescope, state of the art superconducting mixers with near quantum noise limit system noise temperatures are required for sensitivity. With the very high spectral resolution provided by the heterodyne radio technique, hi fi will spectrally disentangle the contribution from the various emission regions covered with the relatively large beam of the Herschel telescope. In this paper, they discuss the key features featuring the observing modes, the in-orbit receiver sensitivity, and some first spectra taken. Details of the calibration and flight performance are described by Rolefalo Sima. I don't know how to say their name. Roelf Sima, I believe. So Frank was one of the published scientists that wrote that article.
For a lot of these, they were working on essentially harmless stuff. It's not like except for the one
Yeah,
guy who's working with extraterrestrials. Like, they were just working with
like weather,
atmosphere.
ocean,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, if we continue reading the scientific rationale for the hi fi design, it gives us a little bit more insight. The scientific themes for the hi fi are mainly related to the understanding of the cyclic interrelation of the stars and interstellar medium in galaxies. On the other hand, stars in the planetary systems are formed through gravitational collapse of interstellar molecular clouds. On the other hand, the interstellar medium is composed from the ejecta, enriched by newly synthesized elements of dying stars. This complex interplay between the stars and ISM drives of the evolution, hence the observational characteristics of the Milky Way and other galaxies, all the way to the earliest proto-galaxies at high redshift. Although Hi-Fi will have capabilities that address many key topics in modern astrophysics, there are three areas for which Hi-Fi designs was optimized and will be unique. Observations of water lines ending in the ground states that are essential for absorption studies of cold water falling in bands, a survey of molecular complexity of the universe, and observations of redshifted ionized carbon. These are three topics required the high spectral resolution and the wide frequency range given below. So, clearly, to my knowledge, none of the instruments that we have discussed, we've discussed them in pretty big detail, seem to be anything malicious or scary or things that would require you
It's
to
like
be killed.
yeah, it's like Noah, like, it's
Yeah,
just very it's useful stuff to monitor what's happening on Earth.
but I don't see why to the outside eye. I don't know. I did read an article published on the missing scientists posted by the Sentinel Briefing where they discussed the instruments that Frank worked on. And I will quote them in saying the civilian applications are climate monitoring and oceanography. The defense applications are intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The technology is inherently dual use, and Maywald managed programs on both sides of that line. They go on to mention entries in the public memorial guest book from colleagues make clear that his death was sudden. Colleagues noted he had been actively engaged in ongoing projects and making plans for the future. The shock documented by his peers is not the language of a long illness. I don't like that. That to me is hearsay. That's
Yeah.
them making assumptions.
Especially people die randomly all the time, like, from heart
Car
attacks, strokes,
accidents.
crazy. But yeah, just because someone died suddenly doesn't mean they were
Yeah.
offed.
The next scientist we're going to talk about, their family did come forward because their cause of death was not listed either. But yeah, I know that Frank's was a lot to that was a lot to unpack. But since we didn't have much to go on for Frank, I did want to go in depth into detail on what he did for work, just because he is mentioned in the majority of the cases. People are,
They reference him a lot.
yeah,
But his work, I mean, it's
it-
important, but
yeah,
it doesn't really give you'd get offed by someone because of it, you know? Because Amy
yeah,
was working on anti-gravity. That
yeah.
one's
Anti gravity, I could see that,
yeah.
but
Anything that could potentially mess up energy systems, but this is just like, "Hey, this is the climate."
Unless there's just something about if any of you all out there know more about these projects than we do, and you're like, "Oh, you missed the fact that it can shrink human beings or something," then feel free to comment. But I didn't see anything that could be taken and used.
Maliciously.
Yeah. So
Okay, so who's the next guy? Because you said his family came forward?
yes, his family did an interview. Next up is Michael David Hicks. He was born on February 7th, 1964, in Dayton, Ohio. And I know you're probably like, Brenna, why are you going into so much detail about all of these people? Because some of it's irrelevant. But we don't know what we don't know. And it could all be relevant. What if they were all born on the exact same day? They're not.
Were they?
They're not. But, we don't know what we don't know until we know it, you know? So. So so I just added in everything. So you can't be like, "Well, if you woulda looked into blah" I did. No, I'm only human. But Michael David Hicks was born on February 7th, 1964 in Dayton, Ohio. He had degrees from Boston University. He had a PhD in lunar and planetary science at the University of Arizona, and then he began his career at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. He was an astronomer, an artist, and a father, according to his obituary on forestlawn.com. His obituary also continues to discuss how his research advanced our scientific knowledge of comets and asteroids. He is a published scientist, and his articles are featured in the Planetary Science Journal, the Nature Journal, the Astronomer's Telegraph, and the Lunar and Planetary Institute. He has also received many awards throughout his career as a team member on the NASA Redirect Mission Concept Developmental Project, the Near Earth NASA Tracking NEAT team, and the NASA Dawn Science team, and the NASA Deep Space One Comet team. So while Michael was a very intelligent scientist, he was also a talented artist. He enjoyed projects in visual media ranging from woodblock prints to metalwork and some oil painting. He played the ukulele, and he apparently loved the writings of Hunter S. Thompson. For those of you that aren't familiar, Hunter S. Thompson is the man responsible for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, as well as Hell's Angels and the Rum Diary. Are you familiar with any of those?
Nope.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is hardcore. He does a lot of drugs. It is a good movie. The reason that I'm discussing stuff that he does other than being a scientist is because I think that also we forget whenever this stuff like this happens and goes viral, I think that we forget that these are people and that they have families and their families are having to see this stuff every day. And I think it just helps to like remember that, oh, this is a person who, like, played ukulele and liked to paint, and because whenever stuff gets on the internet, we just run with it,
Yeah.
and it gets out of hand really fast.
In the Melissa Casillas case, they specifically the family was like, "Hey, she's not part of this." They kept denying like, they're trying to separate it from the missing
Yeah.
scientist, and people keep running with it, and they're like, "She's not a scientist." So it's
Yeah.
not the same thing.
I feel like we forget that these are people with families, and their families are still alive and have to see this stuff every day. So, Michael died on July 30th, 2023, at the age of 59. His cause of death was not disclosed to the public. His daughter, by the name of Julia Hicks, told CNN that her father had been struggling with known medical issues and that the recent speculation has her shaken up. She stated, "From what I know of my dad, there's no train of logic to follow that would implicate him in this potential federal investigation. I don't understand the connection between my dad's death and the other missing scientists. I can't help but laugh about it, but at the same time, it's getting serious." She also told CNN that no one in the elected office or at any federal agency has reached out to her to inquire about her father's death, at least at the point in time that the CNN article was published. So, from that, we can assume that Michael David Hicks passed away from natural causes, not because of any malicious or suspicious causes, and that he had a previous medical issue. So Michael's case could potentially be removed from the investigation and have absolutely no relation to the other missing or dead scientists whatsoever.
Interesting. So, yeah, there's and his cause of death wasn't revealed
No,
either.
it wasn't revealed. But
Yeah.
judging by his daughter's statement, like, hey, my dad had been struggling with known medical issues, one could assume that he probably doesn't tie into the other stuff. If there is anything malicious going on at all, we don't know. But some of this stuff is pretty sketchy. But I don't think that Michael ties into that sketchy.
Yeah. Maybe more of the missing ones, but
Yeah, the missing
and
ones
then
that are all consecutive kinda have me like, "Hmm."
also you don't know what they were doing in their personal lives.
If they did die of something nefarious, it could have been from other stuff, other nefarious things other than aliens.
Dun dun dun.
But that's all we're gonna cover for this episode, guys. Our next episode is Gab's gonna be covering Melissa.
Yep. So, stay tuned for that. We're gonna record it right now, and we don't have like a patron exclusive for this. You'll just get all of Brenna's unhinged commentary throughout the episode. Thanks
Yeah.
for
Bye,
watching.
guys.
Bye.